Russell Wilson landing spots. Y'all heard me talk on the last show. Appreciate y'all blowing up my last few YouTube videos, by the way. Appreciate the hell out of y'all. Feels so good to have been gone for just a few weeks, able to kind of reset, focus on making some money a little bit, and then right back into the show. Seriously, the best fans in the world. I couldn't thank y'all enough. But yeah, y'all heard me on the last show talk about Russell Wilson, how him being benched means a lot. And, a lot of people are convinced that Russell Wilson has played his last game as a Denver Bronco, and Russell Wilson will be released in March. So let's go ahead and speculate. Let's have some fun and decide where Russell Wilson's next team could be. First and foremost, it's going to be the money that people are going to have to work out with him. I could see him getting signed for around 45 million, maybe 42, 43 million a year. Because the going rate for a quarterback is 40. I mean, Daniel Jones got 40 million. You look at all these other quarterbacks out there, they're getting really anywhere from 50 to 55. And that's why Russ is getting moved off of, because of not only the collateral they traded for him, of course, as we know, but the contract that he was paid as well and is egregiously underperforming it. So I think the next team that would go and take a chance on Russell Wilson would have to make the money right. And if I'm looking to sign Russell Wilson, I'm 100% making the money right. You already know that. You already know that I want to make the money right with Russell Wilson based on how he's been playing lately. Still think it's crazy he's getting released. Still think Sean Payton did a good job in getting Russell Wilson back to a top 12 to 13 quarterback. But it's going to be what it is. And so when you look at all the teams, and y'all listen to me closely before I name these 7 teams. There's 7 teams in the NFL right now that are either, well, basically these 7 teams are not in the quarterback market either because of the draft. They're probably going to extend them, or they just have their guy. Giants, Commanders, Vikings, Falcons, Patriots, Raiders, Steelers. Don't feel like the Steelers are sold on Kenny Pickett. Aiden O'Connell is what he is right now. He's still a rookie. I could see the Raiders going quarterback because they do have some talent over there. Antonio Pierce has kind of made that team good again. And Jimmy G's Jimmy G. The Patriots are the Patriots, obviously. The Falcons don't know if it's Desmond Ridder, Taylor Heineke. The Vikings, we thought they thought Josh Dobbs was going to be it. Kirk Cousins is a free agent after this year. The Vikings could be drafting or moving up to get a Jaden Daniels, as some reports we've heard. The Commanders have won 4 games this year. Yes, there's Eric Bieniemy, but there's also been the injury with Sam Howell. Other backups have had to step in. And then the Giants, obviously Daniel Jones is there, and he was signed that contract, but the Giants would be fooling themselves if they thought that Daniel Jones was it. So the Giants, Commanders, Vikings, Falcons, Patriots, Raiders, and Steelers, I think, are the 7 realistic teams that would go and sign Russell Wilson. I almost wanted to put the Seahawks, but I think there's a bad taste in both of those folks' mouth. I couldn't see a reunion there. I would have loved to put my Saints on there, but they've got all that money committed to Derek Carr, and the Saints wouldn't pay that money for Russell Wilson anyways. So when you look at these 7 teams, 3 stick out to me as, yes, that would be a destination for Russell Wilson, but there's one that is just the glaring option. If y'all are watching, put it down in the chat. We'll give you all a few seconds. To me, there's one team out of these 7 that Russell Wilson should absolutely sign with, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are the obvious option for Russell Wilson to go to next year. The Steelers are not sold on Kenny Pickett. I see a little bit of a resemblance between Mike Tomlin and Pete Carroll. You could say that they're both on the same level in terms of coaching pedigree, both well respected. They're a player's coach. People speak highly of them. Very committed, very loyal franchises, so wouldn't be much of a change in that aspect. Great running game with Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, both over 1,000 scrimmage yards this year in a very elite company. I can't remember exactly who they're in company with, but some very legendary names. Remember when I saw the graphic a few weeks ago on social media? The defense going to be similar to what the defense was capable of when it was cleaning it up after the 70 burger in Broncos country, even what it's been the past couple of years. Seahawks had a solid defense as well. And the Steelers have been looking for that veteran quarterback ever since Big Ben left. We know that. And I'm not going to say Russell Wilson is just like Big Ben, but they're both good leaders. They both threw the hell out of the deep ball. They were extremely clutch when they needed to be, and they could improvise off script. Of course, Russ is, possibly a little better at his peak at all of those than Big Ben was. Both Super Bowl winners, respectively, both very, very good players. We know that. And I think that Russell Wilson going to the Steelers would be exactly, if we went for Russell Wilson, I would scream. I think Russell Wilson to the Steelers would be just a match made in heaven. Really, I do. Because the Steelers would also be fooling themselves if they thought that Russell Wilson, or excuse me, if they thought Kenny Pickett was the answer. And Russell Wilson is probably the most polarizing quarterback in the NFL right now. I don't think by any stretch of the imagination he's washed. He was in a hell of a year with the Broncos his first year. He's having a solid year this year. Just nobody wants to talk about it. People want to see Russell Wilson fall so badly. And it really pisses me off because we're disrespecting one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play. I'm not saying he's top 10, top 15, top 20, but Russell Wilson will be remembered for a very long time in the NFL. And he's only 35. We're acting like he's 38 or, over 40 years old, like, Aaron Rodgers under 40, coming up on 40, Drew Brees and Tom Brady over 40 years old. That's not Russell Wilson. Sean Payton, the way he coached Russ this year, felt a lot like how he coached Drew Brees. He just didn't have the same respect for him and actually treating him like a man as the captain of the team. Not putting the whole game on Russell Wilson's arm, letting Russ play a little bit off script. We know Brees was very binary, very 1-2-3, hit the hitch on the bat step and he's throwing the 15-yard out. Whatever the case is very methodical. And that's what Sean Payton had Russell Wilson do this year. But the money that's tied to it, he didn't want to redo his injury clause in his contract, so they're going to be moving on. And I think the Steelers would be a good option. Russell Wilson has always been solid, being able to commandeer a rushing attack. In other words, being the quarterback as a part of it. We saw it with beast mode. Any quarterback is very solid with a solid, very good running back behind them. And Najee Harris and Jalen Warren look very good with the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. He would have a George Pickens. He would have other receivers out there. He would have a Freiermuth. He would have a Darnell Washington when he comes back healthy. He would have a decent offensive line. He would have a good coach. He would have a great defense, even a great coach in Mike Tomlin. 17 straight non-losing seasons. Of course, that can be a little, shady. When are more Super Bowls going to come around? Is 8-8, 9-8, 8-9 the standard for the Steelers? Absolutely not. They have the most championships in the league. But I think the Steelers would be great. I also think the Falcons and the Vikings are attractive as well. The Falcons are loaded on both sides of the football, but they are two of the most pivotal positions away from going and contending for a Super Bowl. They have Bijan, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, solid O-line this year. Defense has been very good. One of the best, if not the best safety in the league. AJ Terrell continues to sprout. The defensive line has a solid rotation. But the quarterback and the coach are a question mark. You put Russell Wilson in there, I think it's a very solid team. Now, you would also have to change the head coach as well, which is like, all right, third year, third coach, really 4 years, 4 coaches, starts to get very messy. How confident is he in these new systems? We've seen that when a player goes through and through and through a system like a Justin Fields, like a Josh Allen, they're gonna have effects. And at 35 years old, that's just not what you usually see happening. But the Falcons are still attractive as well. Vikings also. I think the O-line is decent. You got Brian Flores, who's probably going to be out of there for a head coaching position, but Brian Flores having the defense looking great. You've got offensive weapons. Kevin O'Connell is good. But I think the Steelers are the obvious option here for Russell Wilson. I could see him getting signed for, maybe around 40 to no more than 45 million a year. I think the quarterback market's overpriced by about 10 million anyways, but what do I know? I just do a show. They're out there playing professionally. But I want to hear from y'all in the chat and in the comments. Let me know about the landing spots that you're feeling for Russell Wilson. I think the Steelers are the most obvious spot for him. Giants, no. Commanders, no. Patriots, no. Just not very good franchises. Russ needs to go to a solid franchise, good culture, and a good coach with weapons. Doesn't every quarterback to really be successful at this point in his career, this late in his career as well.